As the biological parent, I wanted my daughter Annika to discover for herself what I already knew about Mike, that he was kind, trustworthy, and genuinely for her. So I made the choice to intentionally create opportunities for Mike to be the one who delivered good news. That had a much bigger impact than me simply telling Annika how great Mike is. Because now she was able to experience Mike for herself.
Welcome to the Blended Family Breakthrough Podcast. We're your hosts, Mike and Kim.
We believe in a world where blended families can experience a future full of hope, connection, and peace.
That's why we offer tools, strategies, and guidance that move you from a place of confusion and conflict to experiencing a life of confidence and connection.
We're so glad you're joining us for authentic and sometimes comical conversations as we cover everything from romance to parenting, and yes, even dealing with that difficult ex.
So if you're ready to experience breakthrough in your blended family, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Well, hey there. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. We're always so grateful to have you join us. And you know what? We're even more grateful that you're intentionally spending time investing in the health of your blended family. And we actually know that's true because otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? And while you are here, would you give us a 5-star rating wherever you're listening? Your feedback helps other couples just like you to find the support they need right here on the show. So thanks so much in advance for that. Let's go ahead and hop into today's topic.
Okay. You know, honey, when you and I decided to get married 25 years ago, I was full of hope and honestly a little naive about blending a family, what that was going to look like.
Sure.
What I really believed is that we were about to build something beautiful, almost like a first family, just with a second chance and a little more wisdom, right? I had so many dreams about what our life would look like. I imagined peace in our home, easy connection, and that all of us would quickly settle into life as a family.
Wait, so we didn't get that?
Well, if I'm really honest, I had some expectations that set me up for disappointment. I thought that you and Annika were going to connect really quickly. I pictured lots of laughter and comfort and a fun, relaxed dynamic between the two of you. I also remember feeling so relieved at the thought of finally having someone beside me in parenting. I was excited to have a partner who could help carry the weight. Someone who could step in with me, collaborate, and even help with discipline. And I think one of my biggest assumptions was that you would naturally parent a lot like me. I thought you would just slide right into our home, align with the way I was raising my daughter, and we would move forward without much tension at all. It never really crossed my mind that you might have different instincts, opinions, or perspectives on things like teaching values, building character traits, and life skills with Annika.
Wow. So you were really set up for a rude awakening, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. I was. But I also know I'm not the only single parent who remarried with a heart full of hope and some expectations that didn't end up lining up with reality.
Yeah, not even close, right? And honestly, we hear versions of that type of story all the time from the couples we coach, right? Sometimes a biological parent assumes, well, I know my new spouse is a kind, safe, and wonderful person, so my kids should just see that right away and fully embrace them, right? Or sometimes they think, well, it should be totally fine for my new spouse to be alone with the kids and in charge of the kids, or to step in like a full parent from day one. And probably most often, there's this quiet assumption that it really is up to the step parent to make the bond with the stepchild happen, to kind of win the kids over, to build the connection, and somehow just make everybody happy. That's your job, step parent. It's really easy to think that.
Yeah, that was definitely part of my thinking as well. And the hard part is those expectations usually come from a sincere and hopeful place. We want love. We want connection. We want things to work. But when those hopes turn into assumptions, and those assumptions are not grounded in the realities of blended family life, that's where pain starts to show up.
Absolutely. And this is when confusion starts creeping in. Disappointment sets in. Feelings get hurt. Pressure builds. Tension grows. You start wondering why bonding isn't happening. And parenting disagreements really start to surface. Conflict shows up in places that you didn't expect. And for some biological parents, that can lead to a real painful question. Did I make a mistake? Mm-hmm. My kids are resisting my spouse. My spouse feels disconnected. And instead of functioning like a team, it seems like we're constantly pulling in different directions.
And that can feel incredibly discouraging because it's not what you pictured when you said yes to this journey.
That's right.
I know there was a point in our story where I felt that disappointment deeply and even asked myself that painful question. Was this a mistake? And maybe you have too.
Yeah. But thankfully, we've discovered a truth that really kind of changed everything for us. And it helped us to start building with more wisdom and a whole lot less frustration. And here's the discovery. Step parenting is a two-person job.
Yeah. It's a bit of step parenting true north because it's a big picture principle that helped us stay grounded, and it can help you too.
Yeah. So today we want to unpack this a bit with you. When you're able to rethink expectations, better understand roles, and stop putting pressure where it doesn't belong, then you'll successfully move toward healthier dynamics in your home and reach your goals. And as always, we're going to give you some practical strategies to help you build the kind of blended family relationships you're really longing for in a way that actually works.
So let's start by talking about your goal. If your goal is effortless bonding, instant partnership in parenting, and recreating a picture-perfect first family experience, well, you're probably going to stay stuck in disappointment, conflict, and confusion.
That's right. It's important to base your family's goals on reality. That may mean rewriting the original dream and embracing some new expectations. It probably also means accepting that things may not happen as easily or as quickly as you had hoped. So you have to be willing to do the work, to stay intentional, and to practice patience in the process. And we believe that you are willing to do that, or you probably wouldn't be listening and learning right now. So our hope is that patience will grow as you begin to apply new strategies and take wise steps along the way. So let's dive into this idea that step parenting is a two-person job.
Bio parents, I understand how badly you want your new spouse and your kids to get along, care about each other, and enjoy one another. There is nothing wrong with wanting that. But adding pressure, it's not going to help. Sometimes we put pressure on our new spouse, expecting them to build a deep connection with our kids in a short amount of time. But deep connection in any relationship takes time. And sometimes we might pressure our kids to accept and to like our new partner, especially when we sense they seem uninterested or indifferent towards them. But the reality is that blending a family comes with some discomfort for everyone. And sometimes in our own discomfort and our desire to make the original dream happen, we end up resorting to things that are not actually helpful and only create unnecessary pressure. So we'll need to focus on a realistic goal, and that's to build trust and genuine relationship in wise, helpful ways.
That's right. Now, we get it. You know your new spouse is a really great person. You know that they care about your kids and want the best for them, and that they'll likely bring meaningful strength and support into their lives. But your kids probably don't know that yet. We often hear frustrated parents say things like, if my kids would just give them a chance, they'd see how great they are. And that reaction makes sense because you love your spouse and you can already see their heart. And so it's hard to understand why your kids aren't warming up a bit more quickly. But in blended families, relationships rarely grow because a child is told what to think or how to feel. More often, they grow because a child slowly experiences something for themselves.
Trying to convince your kids how great your new partner is, or telling them how they should feel or think about your new family dynamic, that only adds pressure. And that pressure can actually produce the opposite of what you really want. Why? Because nobody responds well to relational pressure. Sometimes kids begin to believe that their own feelings don't really matter, and that in order to make you happy, they need to perform by showing some level of acceptance or pretend to feel a level of connection just to ease your discomfort.
Yeah, and there are a couple of big problems that happen when that type of thing starts to happen. First, if your kids don't truly feel seen and heard and understood, they feel like they just can't share what's really going on for them emotionally. They're going to struggle and have a harder time managing themselves when those big emotions show up. Children in blended families often carry internal pain under the surface. Things like fear, anger, uncertainty, guardedness, sadness. And guess what? An incoming step-parent is often seen as a threat to the child's relationship with their parent, and so it amplifies all those feelings. And expecting a child to just stuff their own emotions so that we can feel better, boy, that's a danger zone that we all want to avoid. And secondly, if a child feels pressure to feign a relationship with your new partner to kind of ease your discomfort or make you happy, then they're doing it for all the wrong reasons. It will not be real. It will not be lasting. In fact, that actually moves you away from the goal. Some kids might push against the pressure and pull away even farther. And some might fake it for a while, but then under the surface, resentment and distance from that step-parent is slowly growing.
That's right. If our goal is to build trust and genuine relationship, then we need to reduce pressure and instead encourage relational growth in wise and helpful ways. So let's talk about one strategy couples can intentionally use to help children experience their step-parent as a safe, caring person who's for them. And we call this tapping into the sweet spot.
That's right. Kids tend to light up when life seems to feel good and goes their way.
Yeah.
They respond positively when something enjoyable, exciting, or meaningful is happening. That is the sweet spot. When a step-parent becomes associated with those sweet spot moments, the child begins to internalize a really important message. They start to think, oh, this person brings good into my life. Or this person may actually be for me. And these aren't big, complicated things. Here's a few simple examples of what it could sound like from a step-parent. Hey, guess what? We're going to the water park today. See how simple that is? Hey, we're getting ice cream later. Hey, we were able to get those shoes you wanted. Or all your friends are coming to your party, right? These sweet spot moments are those emotionally positive times when things are going the child's way. In sweet spot moments, a child is more open, more relaxed, and often more receptive. Their defenses get a little lower, their world feels good, and that creates an opportunity for the step-parent to step in and kind of shine. And it also starts to create a meaningful shift in bonding because now the child is experiencing positive associations with the step-parent that really matter.
That's right. Early in our own step family journey, we discovered just how powerful positive associations can be. As the biological parent, I wanted my daughter Annika to discover for herself what I already knew about Mike, that he was kind, trustworthy, and genuinely for her. So I made the choice to intentionally create opportunities for Mike to be the one who delivered good news, initiated a fun moment, or stepped into a positive experience with her. That had a much bigger impact than me simply telling Annika how great Mike is, because now she was able to experience the fun-loving side of Mike for herself. And here's a pro tip for step-parents. When your spouse spends one-on-one time with their child, which we highly encourage, be intentional about affirming that time with the child.
Definitely. We don't often think about those moments, but they are actually sweet spot moments. You can say something simple like, "Hey, I'm so glad that you got to go to dinner with your mom. I hope you had a really great time getting sushi." Or, "It's so great that you and your mom got to spend that time at the park today. I bet the two of you really enjoyed that." Those are actually sweet spot moments.
Yeah. And those kind of comments communicate acceptance and support for that one-on-one time. And that matters deeply to a child. It can help lower fear and build a sense of safety. And over time, those small interactions sent a clear message to my daughter, Annika. Mike cares about my relationship with my mom. He's not trying to take her away or intrude on what we have.
Yeah, and these seemingly simple moments are often foundational for how trust grows in a blended family, not through pressure, but through repeated positive experience. Stepfamily expert Laura Petherbridge highlights the importance of reducing pressure on the step-parent role and allowing the relationship to form more naturally. She says children do better when they are not pushed to instantly define the step-parent as a replacement parent, but instead are given the room to build trust through experience.
That's right. And yes, biological parents, there is a cost. It may mean giving up some moments that you would naturally want to have for yourself. It may mean stepping back and allowing your spouse to be the one who delivers the fun surprise or creates the positive memory. That's not always easy. But if your larger goal is helping your child to build trust and a genuine bond with your spouse, it's worth it.
That's right.
You'll also need to be patient and allow bonds to grow naturally between your kids and your partner. This isn't something that can be forced or rushed. Keep in mind that the average step family takes 4 to 7 years to fully integrate. It's like cooking a meal with a crock pot, low and slow. That approach allows genuine bonds to naturally develop. What doesn't help is using a pressure cooker or an Instapot. Instead of forcing the process or expecting instant bonds to magically form, choose the crock pot approach. Slow down, be patient, and give your family the time it needs to come together in a healthy way.
Yeah. So the first strategy is to reduce pressure and tap into the sweet spot. And this requires the bioparent to step back and allow the step parent to enter into that sweet spot. And when step parenting is approached as a two-person job in this way, it really creates space for trust and genuine relationship to grow in healthy ways.
Mm-hmm. But what often gets in the way of that? Unrealistic expectations.
For sure.
Especially when a biological parent starts looking to their spouse to make bonding happen. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about what that kind of pressure does and why it tends to move a family in the wrong direction.
Yeah, as a step parent, I really get the pressure and the frustration that many of us feel when we're trying to build a bond with a resistant stepchild. And if your partner, the biological parent, is expecting you to have some kind of magic formula for winning over their kids and making them happy, that puts you in a really difficult spot.
Yeah.
The truth is most step-parents genuinely want a meaningful connection with the stepchild, but it can feel awkward and sometimes nearly impossible. And to force connection with a stepchild who puts up a wall of resistance, it ain't going to happen. And that's often where step-parents find themselves, not because they've done something wrong, but because kids with walls are often part of the blended family reality. So the goal is not to tear down the wall and push for closeness from a step-parent. The goal is to patiently foster healthy bonds and offer support in a way that the child can actually receive it.
But reaching that goal, again, is a two-person job because a step-parent can't reach that goal without the help of the biological parent.
For sure. You've got to work together to bring that wall down brick by brick. And there's no magic bonding formula that rapidly tears walls down and creates connection. But there are some great strategies that can help you to build unity as a couple and begin making small, steady dents in that wall of resistance.
If your child has put up a wall of resistance, It's not your partner's job to bulldoze it down. In fact, if they try, it'll probably do more harm than good. A better approach is for you to get curious about what that wall is really about and help your child process their loss, grief, and pain. I know that can be hard because no parent wants to see their child hurting. But it's unwise and honestly unfair to expect your partner to fill in the gaps and make everything better. That's an unrealistic expectation. If your child has built a wall, what they need most is a trusted parent to help them feel heard, seen, and understood. That's your role. If you want your spouse to eventually build connection and influence with your child, then you need to help your child lower that wall so they can actually receive connection and care from your partner.
Yeah. So you might be saying, well, gosh, okay, how do I do that?
Yeah.
Well, one powerful way is learning the parenting skill of emotion coaching. If you've been around here at all for any length of time, you've heard us talk about this. And we actually mapped out John Gottman's 5 steps of emotion coaching back in episode 222 and 223. And so we'll link to those in the show notes. And those episodes are going to help you learn how to respond in healthier, more effective ways when your child is pushing back against your new partner. You see, when the biological parent uses an emotion coaching approach, it can help soften and slowly lower a child's wall of resistance. Working with a family coach or a counselor that has training and experience specifically with blended family dynamics can also be very helpful along the way.
Yep.
But the step parent also plays an important role too. Is that right, honey?
That's right.
Yeah.
Step parents need to be understanding and patient. As a step parent, you may have a strong desire to build a bond with your stepchild. But if their motivation to build a bond with you is low and they just don't seem interested, you'll have to do something really hard. And that's to move at the child's pace without giving up or getting discouraged.
Whew, that's tough.
It is.
But it's so important. You want to consistently send the message, I'm here when you're ready. That means staying open and available even as you're facing that wall of resistance.
Yeah.
Step family expert Ron Deal says a child's trust, respect, and honor grow out of a relational history with a step parent that comes with time and positive experiences. Successful step parents are dedicated to relationship building over the long haul, and they don't try to force their way in.
Yeah.
Keep initiating connection in ways that feel appropriate, and don't take it personally if you get turned down. Keep showing up, but move at the pace that the child can handle. That's not easy, but as your spouse starts to understand more about what their child's wall is really about and shares some of that insight with you, it can actually help you grow your empathy and better understand what your stepchild might be struggling with. You might actually be really surprised to learn that it's not actually about you.
Yeah. Many kids enter blended family life with walls up. Some walls are small, others are more like a fortress. And those walls usually are not rooted in defiance. More often, they are built out of protection, grief, uncertainty, loyalty, tension, or fear of more change. We need to remember that step families are formed in the middle of loss and transition, not on the clean slate of a first family experience. That's one reason that connection with a step parent often needs to be built slowly and respectfully.
That's
Move
right.
at the child's pace.
And step parents, I want to encourage you to learn alongside your partner about the emotional challenges that kids in blended families often face. Take time to understand how loss and grief impact the blending process, what your stepchild might be struggling with, and how you can support them along the journey as well. In fact, in our Blending Together community, we've got a whole library of video teachings, and our entire second module is just focused on understanding the kid's perspective. When you can do that, it's going to help you to embrace healthy, realistic expectations for bonding and not take things quite so personally when it seems to be going at a much slower pace than you'd really like.
Yeah.
Now, just as importantly, learn what you need to know and do not unintentionally add to your stepkid's pain. We've included a few episodes in the show notes that's going to help you to go a little deeper and really step into the kid's shoes. This is especially important if you also brought kids into the family dynamic.
That's right. So the second strategy is to lower the wall by lowering your expectations. Instead of trying to tear down the wall and push for closeness with the step-parent, we want to instead patiently foster healthy bonds and offer support in a way the child can actually receive it, and help kids lower those walls one brick at a time.
That's right. And let me be really clear here. Lowering your expectations is not the same thing as lowering your standards. In fact, one of the primary focal points that we work with many couples on is defining their values in a way that they can use them as a consistent, steady standard in parenting, and then do that as a united team. Lowering expectations is less about behavior and more about time and connection. You can hold to high standards and keep your expectations appropriate at the same time. Okay. So the biological parent's job is to emotionally support their child, and the step-parent's job is to remain consistent, patient, available, and empathetic.
That's right.
Let's examine one more strategy, and it will probably not surprise you that it centers on parenting, which is what I was just talking about. Yeah. This is an area where so many blended couples need clarity. Yep. We talked earlier about the power of positive associations, but sometimes parenting is one of the quickest places for negative associations to form and then hijack that connection in step relationships that you're really seeking. Many couples assume the step-parent should step in quickly and carry a high level of authority, but Patricia Pappernow's research points in a different direction. She encourages step-parents to move slowly and focus on connection, not correction, especially early on.
Bio parents, you may have an expectation or at least a hope that your new spouse will help you carry the heavy load of parenting things like discipline, correction, and enforcing consequences. Or you may assume it should be fine to leave your spouse in charge of your kids and they should just accept the step-parent's authority. But here's the reality we need to understand. True authority is built on trust, and trust takes time. Your spouse may have a certain amount of positional authority. They are an adult with an important role in your home, but that doesn't automatically mean they have relational authority with your kids. Those are two very different things. And we cannot expect relational authority to develop overnight. If unrealistic expectations put your spouse into the role of disciplinarian before they've had time to build relational trust with your kids, that will likely create power struggles, conflict, and negative associations, which will hinder the bonding process. You know, if you were to put yourself into your kids' shoes for a moment, you'd probably agree that the last thing they want is another adult telling them what to do, especially if you've got teenagers or kids who are struggling to adjust to all the changes that come with blending.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why this conversation matters so much. The goal is not for the step-parent to have full authority. The goal is to reduce negative interactions by allowing the step-parent to focus on the relationship first. Connection, not correction. If a step-parent is bringing correction, delivering bad news, or enforcing consequences, or stepping into conflict, that actually works against the very bond that they're trying to build.
This is one of the easiest wrong turns that blended couples tend to make. When a biological parent hands over too much authority too soon, they may unintentionally place the step-parent in the role of adversary before trust has even been formed. And a step-parent coming in who claims or demands too much authority too soon is most likely adding bricks to the wall of resistance rather than creating an environment where those bricks can come down. It's basically sabotaging their relationship with their stepchildren.
That's right. So the strategy here is to build your parenting partnership in a way that protects against negative interactions. Now, thankfully, we avoided that easy wrong turn for the most part early on,
I'd say.
after we had learned this strategy from Ron Deal 25 years ago. So when it came time for correction, disappointment, or hard conversations with Annika, Kim was the one who stepped in. And as her mom, she already had established authority with her and a secure bond with her as well. So Annika could receive correction from Kim without that same relational pushback or struggle that I might have had.
That's right. But in my case, I also had some growing to do. During my years as a single parent, I had fallen into more of a permissive parenting pattern. So I had to be willing to strengthen my parenting skills a bit and become more authoritative, which leads to the best outcomes for kids in any family structure. I had to play my role well so Mike could just stay focused on connecting with Annika and trust that I would handle the discipline. Parents, this part can be hard to hear. When you remarry, it's completely understandable that you'd want help carrying the parenting load. You finally have a partner beside you. Of course you want support. Of course you want shared responsibility. But do not confuse shared responsibility with identical roles. In blended family, the biological parent and step-parent must focus on their distinct roles, at least for a significant season. That's not dysfunction, that's wisdom.
That's right. This is because of loyalty binds and grief and ambiguity. Those things already make the emotional terrain more complex. So when a child experiences disappointment or disapproval from a step-parent too early, it can intensify resistance rather than build connection. Yes, it can be hard for the biological parent to carry more of the hard stuff. But hard, wise choices in blended families often create the biggest wins over time.
Now, this doesn't mean that the step-parent is hands-off or just keeps to themselves.
That's right.
They need to be included in parenting decisions. And that's why it's so important to build a healthy parenting partnership. A strong parenting partnership happens behind closed doors, where the two of you work toward alignment on how your home will operate day to day. What values do you want to build in your kids? What character traits matter most? What life skills are you trying to develop? And how are you going to lead your home as a united team?
Yeah, we help couples with this all the time, and we've seen the difference it makes in the clarity, the peace, and the teamwork they develop, not just as a couple, but really across the whole family. If you want to reduce negative interactions by allowing the step-parent to build trust first, each of you needs to understand your unique role and stay in your lane. The biological parent steps up to handle discipline while the step-parent is still building trust with the children. This is true early on, and if you've got a lot of resistance happening, it could be true that you really need to step back, even if you've been in the blend 5, 6, 8 years.
When you live out this strategy of building your parenting partnership in a way that protects against negative interactions, kids begin to experience the step-parent as a safe, warm, positive person. And as that happens, things begin to shift. Walls slowly come down. Trust starts to grow. Openness increases and influence deepens. Bio parents, if your spouse has already stepped into direction or correction too early or too often, pause and consider how you might shift that. That dynamic might be costing more than you realize, and it's never too late to start turning things around. If you want to learn how to do that and understand more about parenting roles and building a healthy parenting partnership, check out the show notes for some past episodes that can help you get started today.
That's right. So we talked about 3 strategies that help you stay focused around this reality that step parenting is a 2-person job and help you reach some realistic goals. Remember, the goal is not to create a pressure cooker. It's to build trust and genuine relationship in wise, helpful ways.
Right. The goal isn't to tear down the walls and push for closeness with a step-parent. The goal is to patiently foster healthy bonds and offer support in a way the child can actually receive it.
That's right. And the goal is not for the step-parent to have full authority right away. It's to reduce negative interactions by allowing the step-parent to focus on connection first. These are worthy goals, and they're absolutely attainable when you're willing to let go of unrealistic expectations and lean into these strategies that treat step parenting as a two-person job.
That's right. So take a moment to think about where you may need some growth, some adjustment or realignment in your unique family dynamic. Do you need to reduce pressure and tap into the sweet spot? That will require patience and consistency. But it's one of the best things you can do if you're early in the journey or you're seeing resistance and pushback from a child towards a step parent. Mm-hmm. You want step relationships to become genuine and lasting.
Yeah, or maybe you need to help lower the walls of resistance by lowering your expectations. That may mean releasing or at least rewriting your original dreams of how you thought this would go, and then replacing them with a bit more realistic hopes as you support your kids through their emotional challenges.
Or perhaps your next step is to build your parenting partnership in a way that protects against negative interactions. That'll take thoughtful, intentional effort, but it's worth it because you'll reduce conflict, confusion, and chaos in your home.
Mm-hmm. If you've identified one of these strategies as an area to focus on in your family, we want to commend you for being willing to move in a healthier and hopeful direction. And we want to encourage you to choose a next step today. We've included several episodes in the show notes organized by each strategy, so you can go deeper and get more specific about how to apply this in your own home and how to implement it. Today's episode's been a little bit more of a high-level overview, but if you want to make real progress, going deeper will definitely help.
It might be really impactful to listen to one or two of those episodes with your spouse. Invite them to grab a coffee and go for a drive. Let them know that you're learning some new things and that you want to work together to improve the dynamics in your home. Ask for their perspective and for their input as you listen together. That can be a really meaningful first step towards making step parenting a two-person job.
Yeah, or maybe you're ready to join our community and learn from other couples who are navigating similar challenges. You'll find encouragement, practical ideas, and support as you work toward healthier expectations and wise next steps that can make a real difference in your home. Mm-hmm. And you can find a link in the show notes to check out the Blending Together community.
And if you're feeling really stuck or it feels hard to even talk about this stuff together, we're here to help. You can find a link in the show notes to schedule your free coaching call with us.
That's right. We would love to help you identify the best next step and get unstuck so that you can make some real meaningful progress. Mm-hmm. We know how confusing and chaotic blended family life can feel. It's easy for these dynamics to create a wedge of disconnection and pain for couples. But we want you to know there really is hope.
And the strategies that we've talked about today, well, they aren't easy. They aren't a quick fix. But over time, they really do lead to good things for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Our friends over at Family Life Blended share a great phrase. I think it's often attributed to Zig Ziglar that says, difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations.
And that really is true in blended family life. Unfortunately, there are no quick fixes, and you'll have to navigate some difficult roads. You may have to make some hard choices like the ones that we've explored today. But on the other side of those hard choices are big wins. Not forced closeness, not premature authority, not an instant family, but something much better. Real trust, genuine relationships, healthy bonds built over time.
That's right. So choose your strategy, identify your next step, and then take it. Just keep moving forward one step at a time. That's what leads you toward a beautiful destination. Not perfection, but some healthy, meaningful, and deeply worthwhile connection. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. Mm-hmm. Go out there and make step parenting a two-person job. All right, that's going to make this episode a wrap.
Until next time.